Welcome, everybody, to Write Better Together. I'm Jon Meyers. Hey, look, everybody, it's Emily Brooks.
Hello, Jon Meyers. And hey, look, everybody, it's Stephanie L. Jones.
What what'd you do with Emily?
Hey, Jon Meyers. I'm the new
Steph-
Emily for, a while.
So what are we talking about today?
We
Stephanie
are
L.
talking
Jones.
about Jon Meyers is no coincidences.
Oh,
Everything
my
happens
goodness.
for a reason.
Oh, wow.
And I think that's a good question for the audience is, do you believe that? Do you believe that everything happens for a reason?
Maybe you and I believe you and I think there are no coincidences. And so we don't really want to hear opposing viewpoints on that. What else are we talking about today? Just kidding, people.
I was going to say, I think that's our topic. We want to talk about how did you get out of your bubble?
Yeah. And what else?
And listener responses, which you're going to do. You've got one, right?
Yes, I got one right here.
Okay. And then we're going to have that discussion about what we talked about. And then we will do a call to action as always, which I've come up with a good call to action.
All right.
We will do a Hey Jon Meyers.
Yay.
Which, again, I think is fun. I'm excited about this one. And then you're going to ring a bell. I have added something new called
Oh my goodness.
What the Bee. You don't
what
even
the
know
bee?
What the Bee.
What the bee? What the bee?
What the bee? And then we will wrap up with the final act. Yes. And you have a game for me, which I'm so excited about.
A hard-hitting game. So I'm glad you came up with a new segment, because with no Emily, we're retiring the reasons your kid is crying episode, because you're not allowed to get pregnant during the 6 weeks, and so we don't need to know that. So I'm glad you have a new segment. Before we talk about how we got out of our bubble, Happy Dingus Day. We're recording this on Dingus Day. You are from up north. You're from the Chicagoland area. You cannot tell me you don't know what Dingus Day is.
I've never even heard of that, Jon Meyers.
Oh, dude. All right. So Easter Monday. Do you really not know?
No, I really don't know.
Have you lived up there your whole life?
No. I came up here about, 15 years ago with my husband's from up here.
Okay.
So I followed him.
I thought I wasn't going to have to teach a new person what Dingus Day was. Emily didn't know. But so see this? It involves these things right here.
Okay. Are those furry?
These are pussy willows.
Yes.
All right. So Dingus Monday, for those of you that don't know or weren't watching a year ago when I explained this to Emily, is Easter Monday. It's the Monday after Easter, and it's a Polish holiday. They celebrate it in Chicago, in South Bend, in Hamtramck outside of Detroit, somewhere in Ohio, Cleveland, some Cleveland neighborhoods. And what is Dingus Day, you're asking? So well, your husband must not know about it, because you would have said you would be soaking, your hair would just be like drenched right now, because so your husband wakes you up on Dingus Monday, or on Dingus Day, on Easter Monday, by dumping a bucket of water on your head.
That does not, he might not be my husband for very long if he did that.
And then y'all chase each other around and smack each other with pussy willows. That's why those pussy willows are there. So people are going to be watching this after it's 2 weeks later.
Dingus Monday.
Yeah, after we're recording this on Dingus Monday, but Dingus Day, but it's already passed by the time they see this. But I was at a farmer's market a year ago, and there was a lady selling pussy willows, because that's the time of this year, and she didn't know. And so she gave me those because I educated her about Dingus Day. And so nowadays, because we're living in the genteel 2025 and we're more evolved. You don't really dump a whole bucket of water on your wife, but you squirt her with a squirt gun. And then it's also equal opportunity now. Women chase men around with squirt guns filled with perfume, so they're tagged with the perfume. And I have a fragrance sensitivity, so no spraying me, anybody watching this, with perfume. And then that doesn't sound very fair, does it? Guess what? Tomorrow, Easter Tuesday, Dingus Tuesday, you get revenge on the husband who dumped the water on your head by taking his favorite dish, like when you serve him dinner on his favorite dish, and you wake him up by breaking the dish over his head. That's a real holiday. And
that seems like abuse. I'm a former police officer, Jon Meyers. That seems like abuse.
Nowadays, you cannot do that because that would be inappropriate. And so these days, you as a couple go out on the front porch or on the front sidewalk and you break the dish out on the sidewalk together as a marital activity or as a courting ritual. And so there you go. Now you're all caught up and now you fit in living up there. You need to when we're done, you need to ask your husband if he's heard of such nonsense.
I know. I feel like he would have told me. I mean, we have been married for 20 years, so
well,
he would have said this.
All right. There you go. How'd you get out of your bubble?
Okay, 2 big things. My guess is one that you did, but we got a puppy last Sunday. Oh. I know I told you I had a surprise for you, right?
Yesterday?
No, a week ago Sunday.
Is the puppy there?
Yes, but he's downstairs. So I know. He's puppy. He's a really good puppy though. His name is Maze. And so, I got out of my bubble we went and picked him up. We got him in Michigan and then we took him to the pet store, because you got to socialize your puppies. And every day I get out of the house multiple times a day to, throw the chucket or use the chucket to throw the ball and to walk him and potty him. So I got out a lot, which I love it now that we got him in the springtime. And it's not winter, even though today was really cold. I'm like, let's get some warm weather. So that's one way that I got out was the puppy. And then thing 2 was church yesterday. So Easter Sunday church service. And
wait, before you continue, what kind of dog? And you said his name was Maze. What kind of dog is he?
He is a Dutch Shepherd and he's 11 months old.
Okay.
And so it's good. We got him because he was potty trained and crate trained and has some obedience training. So that was a bonus.
And how big will he get?
He's 50 pounds now. And I think my husband said like 60 maybe. Oh my gosh. So we had a German Shepherd. My husband was a canine handler. And so we had a German Shepherd and, his name was Boss. And he was like 85 to 100 pounds, depending on the season. So he seems small compared to our last dog.
And will this dog be trained for like security, like to protect you and all that, like cops dogs do?
Yeah, I mean, he won't be a police dog. He is more of a companion, but these types of dogs. So if you look at German Shepherds, Dutch Shepherds, Belgian Malinois, if I said that right, like they have that protective instinct. He already does. He saw my husband outside and I don't think he knew it was my husband. And he was already like barking, going after us like, it's okay. It's okay. He's a friend. He's a friend. So yeah, he won't have the bite training that our other dog did, which, my husband used in police work, but they still have that protective instinct very much so.
Well, I expect to meet Maze on a future episode.
Yes. Okay. We will do that. Maybe when my husband's home so he can like bring him up and take him down.
You didn't change his name, right? That's the name you got him with that name?
No, we actually changed his name.
Oh my gosh. Does he, and he already knows it?
This is what's crazy. So I thought that would be a difficult feat, like to change their name. And for him being 11 months old and
that's what I'm
actually
saying.
we bought him from a vet and she's like, oh no, like a couple of days he won't. And he does. He responds. I mean, within a couple of days. Now here's the the difficult thing is my husband and I keep calling him two prior dog names as opposed to like we have to flip through our mind of like Boss and then we have this one puppy Rush for like 3 weeks and Maze. So it's like, okay, your name's not Boss. It's not Rush. Oh, your name is Maze. So, we're training we're trying to train ourselves to remember what his name is.
So what was his old name?
Oro, Oro, which means gold. And he's like brindle, so he's got some golden in him. So I think that's why his
And
name
what is Maze? Where did that come from?
Yeah, so two things. Maze, we are Michigan football fans, and Michigan's colors are maize and blue, which maize is a color of yellow, kind of like on that book back there.
Like corn.
Yeah. And then, but also, you said it's also corn, and I live in the state of Indiana, and we are known for our corn. So it's kind of like this. What would you say, like an homage to the football team that we love in the state of where we were born, raised, and lived?
Wow. I don't even know what football is. What is that?
Jon Meyers.
All right. So you went to church.
So I went to church, and I serve at the coffee bar at church, and I love the coffee bar. People would never guess I'm an introvert being at the coffee bar, but you've got like a reason to talk to people and serve them coffee, and I've gotten to know like so many people just serving coffee. So went to the 6:45 service, and then I served coffee the next service. So
yeah, I'll tell you about our coffee bar first. I mean, not first.
Is this how you got out of your bubble?
This is how I got out of my bubble. Look, there I am out of my bubble. If I'm trying to not disclose my undisclosed location, but look at that. It's sunrise. Oh my goodness. 5:47 in the morning on Easter morning. So I'm going to sunrise service. I'll give you a report afterwards, actually, after the sun comes up. All right, so I have a big church, so about 2,500 people, and so the sanctuary sits 1,700, and there's 3 services every Sunday. 8 o'clock, it's about half full. 9:30, it's too full, and people don't get in because of safety and security, and so they gotta go. The overflow has to go to 11 or watch outside on a big screen or out in the lobby, and then 11 is 80% full. Obviously on Easter, all 3 of those are full. So we had another one on Saturday, and then recently we've been adding 6 o'clock in the morning because that was at 5:45 or whatever I said it was, and sun came up at 6:04. So there were 500 seats, and they were all full, and they were all full last year too. And there's probably I'm pretty good at guessing crowd size. 300 of us. I stood because I didn't want to take a seat from some little old lady or something. And there's probably 300 of us standing behind there in the parking lot. It's so powerful when there's 750 people singing with the birds chirping, and people are driving by because we're out in the parking lot and are looking like, what is that? What the bee?
What the bee?
It's super powerful, and that it's that full, and everyone has on their Sunday Easter dresses, and everyone's so beautiful. And I go to the Pretty People Church, by the way, and
as opposed to
the one down the street. No, I'm kidding.
You're in an undisclosed location, so nobody knows what you're talking about.
Correct. And then, so when you mentioned coffee bar, they moved the coffee bar. Well, so we have kind of like an outdoor bar for coffee for when you're going in the summer, but it's not in the winter. It's not open. So that's like the pre-coffee station. So that's not out yet. And then we have a regular coffee bar upstairs, like that thing where it's a portable one, and then we have a built-in one built into the wall, like a drive-through window or whatever, and downstairs at the bottom of that, because it's 2 stories, there's an escalator at the bottom, and so there's always a line at all of them. So here's what the interesting thing was. There wasn't as much of a line at the coffee bar outside. Now it was 62 degrees
I
and
was going to say,
sunny.
was it cold? Was it warm? What was it
No,
like?
it's been cold in the past, but it was 62 degrees. You said you were cold. It got to be 80 yesterday on Easter, and 84, I think. And then
Wow.
today it's going to be 79 or whatever. Yeah, it's not cold here. Yeah. So my question to you is, why would people, since I didn't know this, you're the coffee bar matron, the expert, why would not as many people get coffee outside as they do when they're inside and waiting in line?
I don't know. Maybe people don't want to wait in line outside.
There really wasn't a line. I mean, there were people
Well, I mean,
getting
like
caught.
just being even outside, like maybe they just want to like get inside, get their seat, like I don't know.
I don't know.
We don't have it outside, so I don't really have anything to compare it, but
Oh,
maybe
your
people
sunrise
just
service wasn't outside.
no. Ours is inside.
Oh. Oh, now I
So your
understand.
sunrise service, the whole thing is outside?
Yeah, everything I just said was outside. So people, that's what I said. So,
I thought
yeah.
you just meant like the overflow people. Like
No,
the overflow people were out
at
in the
6:04 in the morning, there's 800 people outside in the parking lot, and
Oh,
cars are driving by,
oh,
and
that's
we're all
amazing.
singing.
That's amazing. I was thinking like 500 made it in. Sorry,
No,
300 outside with a big screen. Okay,
no,
everybody outside. Oh,
yeah,
that's beautiful.
I confused you because I combined the two things. No, our sanctuary sits 1,700,
Well, that's why
and
I was confused. I was like, wait,
yeah,
did they only let 500 in?
no, that was 500 outside,
Okay.
and
Wow.
and yeah, and so it's really cool because people on their way to church or on the way to their 8 o'clock are driving by our church, going, "Look at all those people,"
Oh,
and
that's
it's
beautiful.
yeah, and it's super powerful to sing all those things out loud with the birds chirping, and there
Yeah.
you go.
Oh, beautiful. Listener responses. Do you have
Oh
one?
my, I have one. So I looked up the date, May 9th. We had a pre-meeting, Stephanie L. Jones and I did, and I told her what afterthoughts were because she wasn't aware of them. And we had done an afterthought with Brian Baker. He was also a guest on the show. He's a fountain pen expert, and he encourages people to write by hand. His YouTube channel, there's like he'll get 15,000 views of people like just watching about fountain pens, man. And
Who knew? I had no idea.
so last year on May 9th, Wes Anderson, film director, writer Wes Anderson, announced that there was going to be a Wes Anderson edition Mont Blanc pen. The pen hadn't come out yet, so it was the commercial unveiling it, but it was also like a little movie. So the three of us watched it together. It is still our number one viewed episode. People still comment on it, including the viewer response for today.
Oh.
And so you have to remember that when this video came out, Brian Baker is the fountain pen expert's name, and Down the Breather Hole is video channel, his YouTube channel, and
Okay.
he's also linked in all the show notes, as you will be from now on. Stephanie L. Jones. He does editing on Fiverr. That's how he supports his family, is
Oh,
he
very
does
nice.
book editing and coaching and stuff like that. So the pen had not been released yet. This was the commercial announcing it, and we were the first people to make a reaction video to it, and other people did within a week or two after that, but we were the first ones, and so that I was proud of that. But we didn't know, because we're not mountain experts, if Mont Blanc, because he's like, it was him and Jason Schwartzman, and I forget the third guy, and they're like, "We're here climbing Mont Blanc," and we didn't know if Mont Blanc was really a mountain,
Is
and
it?
or see, who knows, but and so we said that, and we just knew it was a fountain pen name. Viewer Lars Schilling 1794 finally almost a year later has answered that question for us.
Okay. You
He
guys
says
just didn't Google it?
well, afterwards, people. This was before the pen came out. Now, like, people knew, and then afterwards, we never. We got busy.
Life went on. But Lars,
But
if that's
Lars
their name.
answered,
Yes.
He says that Mont Blanc is the highest mountain in Europe. And every Mont Blanc pen on the nib, the little tip of it, has the number 4810 on it. And that's the height. That's the number of feet on the actual mountain.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And so thank you, Lars. He taught us something, which I'm sure after that episode, I'm sure Brian Baker went and did all that research. Do you own fountain pens?
I don't think so.
There's like $1,500, $5,000 fountain pens, man.
No.
My car only costs $3,000.
Yeah, I would. I mean, maybe I get blowback on this, but I have better things to spend my money on than a pen, especially as a giving gal. I really like. You think about literally people in third world countries. It's like, what could they do with? It's amazing. I was just on a call with a nonprofit that my book, The Giving Challenge, supports. And, she said on average in Honduras, those people make, those that are working, it's like $4 a day. So I can't spend $1,500 or $5,000 on a pen.
Okay, but you can't criticize the people that do. Like, let's say if
I'm not.
Let's say if you were, I know I'm pushing back on your pushing back. Let's say you were a collector and you were going to do that. Are you going to go hire that person? No. You're not going to take that $1,500 for the ink pen and go hire that person.
Yeah,
so
no.
My father has all the cattle on the hill, man. And there's more than enough money to go around. And that's a shame that people do that. Now, if you've watched when Misty's been on, Misty, she's a L too, Misty L. Butler.
Oh.
She works with two organizations that rescue women out of that poverty, and they do craft projects and then sell them at a living wage. And so we've had her on talking about that before. So yeah, that is terrible. But I'm not gonna beat up someone that collects pens.
I'm not beating them up. I'm just saying I would not. We all have our own opinions, don't we, Jon Meyers?
Yes, we do.
Now I'm like so curious. I'm like, I gotta go look at these pens.
Well, you can go watch the video of.
I know, that's what I took a note. I'm like, I'm gonna go watch the video, and then I
Jon Meyers, Emily, and Brian Baker
videos.
Talking about
a
mountain they don't know is really a mountain or not.
Love it.
Or what are we talking about now?
Yeah, well, no coincidences, right? Everything happens for a reason. That is our opinion, that we believe everything happens for a reason.
Yes. No, it's the truth.
It is the truth. It is the truth.
It's an undebatable truth. People do believe the other side too. But we're going to tell you why you're wrong. No. Why don't you start? So when did you realize that you didn't believe in coincidence?
Probably, I mean, maybe before this, okay? But this is kind of like this will go to the call of action too. But like, if you put a little pen in something, I feel like this is where my little pen is. Like going to college, I had these different colleges that I looked at and I wanted to go to, and I was a runner and I got recruited to run a couple places. And then one of my friends from high school, he was a year older than me. He went to a college called Taylor University. I'd never even heard of it, Jon Meyers, before my friend went. And he kept begging me, come, look at the college. I just know you'll love it. And I honestly, I think I went because it's like, he's not going to stop bugging me about going to it. And then I went up there and it was like the Holy Spirit moved. And I'm like, I got to go to this place. This is where I need to go. But I had missed the deadline. So then I get put on a wait list. And now I'm on this wait list. And then I'm freaking out because it's like, this is where I think I have to go. And I call my friend in tears when I get put on the wait list. And I don't get accepted, to the university. And he basically was like, let me call you back. I'm like, okay. I get a call from the track coach and says, are you willing to run the 10,000? which Jon Meyers, that is 25 laps around a track. But I was so like desperate of like, I'll do whatever. Yes, I didn't even think through this. Yes, I will run the 10,000. And then I got my acceptance paper into the university because I was willing to run the 10,000. But then even like, then I start thinking about the coincidences, you know, like roll it back a little bit is I hated to run. And when I was in high school, my PE teacher said, she was also the track coach, said, you should run track. We had to run a mile in PE. Did you have to run a mile in PE, Jon Meyers?
I don't remember. If I did, I blocked it out of my memory.
You're like, no, but I hated it. I was like, this really stinks. But she says, Stephanie, like you have potential. I had a good time. And I'm like, I hate running. I'm not running. I will be a manager. I was a track manager. And at one of the meets, somebody was sick or couldn't run. And so she's like, Stephanie, we need you to run the 800 meters. Now, I had not trained Jon Meyers. I had done nothing, but I jump in and I run the 800 meters and I got third place. And she was like, basically, I told you you could be a runner. So I ended up becoming a runner. And it was because of her encouraging me and seeing something that I didn't see in myself and that I thought I hated is how I got into college, you know, and then it's like the rest is history, you know, and then I can kind of go through all these in air quotes of not coincidences, or some people would think they were a coincidence, but you know, that's how my life has been ever since then. So
when I applied, so here's a coincidence. That's
yes,
not a coincidence. That's not a coincidence. When I applied to grad school, I was supposedly the shoe-in for the screenwriting position. At the time that the program had, it was a small program, and it had 2 fiction writers, poets, 2 creative nonfiction, and 1 screenwriter in the creative writing MFA program. And I found out during finals week of getting my bachelor's that they went with someone else.
And how'd that make you feel?
Well, I'll tell you that in a second. And then, so I was rejected from the program. You were rejected or put on the waiting list for the program. I found out just like a couple weeks ago, even less than 2 weeks ago. My hero, Michael Jamin, he was rejected twice when he went to school, and now he's been like a professional sitcom writer for 28 years. He was rejected for the program that he wanted to go to for creative writing. How it made me feel, I'll answer your question. I've talked about it a little bit on the show before, is that first of all, I didn't have time to feel anything yet because I was in the middle of finals week, getting my I have a BA in film, okay. And like, this is when you're gonna tell me, like at the beginning of finals week, I have all these papers due and everything.
Maybe that's why they tell you you can't get emotional, you can't feel. It's just like, I don't care.
And then I had no plan B because everyone, even my advisor, everyone just said it was going to be me. And so I didn't think to have a plan B. So I called, I don't know what to call him. He's the liaison between the film department and the English department. And he's retired now. I called him and he's like, get through finals and we'll talk about it on Monday. So then he met with someone else in the meantime. And they said, Dr. So-and-so will take you in the MA program. And so that's how, I jumped ahead. So I called him, and then I called the head, Bethany Smith, the head of my small group at church. And she goes, great, God has something better in store. And I'm like, that's not what I want to hear now.
Isn't that so the Christian answer a lot of times is like,
but immediately,
yeah,
immediately. And so at that point, from there on in my life, that became the Bethany Smith principle that we've talked about on the show before. And she was right. So then Monday, I called Dr. So-and-so, and he's like, Dr. So-and-so will take you in the MA program, and he'll just use everything that you submitted for the MFA program, and you're in. And so I waited 3 months to get rejected, and I got in 12 hours in the MA program, and it worked out. She was right. Bethany Smith was right. That's why I became such a good teacher, because I learned how to teach when I got my MA. in English because I was a film guy. I wasn't English anything. I can't.
Yeah.
I hadn't had an English class since high school, and I'm in all these grad school classes with all these English majors. I did really well, and my students loved me. And then two. So that was a 2-year program, and so I got an MA in English. And then guess what happened?
You got into.
The woman that called me said, Dr. So and so wants to know if you want to come get your MFA. Like, I didn't even have to. And I'm like, I just got an MA. And they're like, okay, but so they recruited me, long story short, and I got my tuition paid, blah, blah, blah. So now I have an MA, an MFA, and a PA. As part of the MFA, you have to teach, or you get to teach. A lot of those people, yeah, but a lot of those people don't like it, and so they say they have to, right? And which is a shame, because if you're a student, you want someone that wants to teaching you. I fell in love with it the first day I taught, getting my MA, and so there were a lot of those things, the training that I already had when I got my MA, and so I didn't even have to do that. So I got to teach on day 1 of my MFA, and then again, I'm skipping around. In the MA program, normally you have to have 18 hours to teach under your belt before you can teach. So that's first semester, and you don't get to teach. I got to teach on day 2 of my MA because there was an experimental program, and they picked 3 people to teach in that experimental program, and it was funded by a federal grant. And so we had a doctor who was the instructor of record, and but we taught. We were the one in front of the class, and the doctor sat there for part of the time, and the PhD doctor, not the doctor, medicine doctor, and for some of the time, and we couldn't issue the grades, but I was teaching. I already had 2 years of teaching under my belt before I got my MFA. So it all worked out. Coincidence. I wrote down the definition of coincidence. It is, if I can read this, the definition of coincidence is 2 or more events coming together in a surprising, unexpected way. Okay, so I think coincidence is just things that it's things you just don't understand yet, right?
Yeah, you can't see like the puzzle pieces.
Yeah, and so I told that whole big long story about the MA and the MFA and all that because I didn't understand it till 2 years later, and then Bethany Smith was right. Oh, there was something better in store, and it wasn't a coincidence that it was the plan the whole time. But you don't know that, and so people write off things they don't know yet as coincidence.
Well, I think too, it doesn't always have to be something good. Like you could go through something difficult or hard.
Right.
And then you're like, well, this stinks. And I mean something like really difficult or hard. Like you and I talked about, like not getting into school or putting on a wait list, but maybe it's getting an illness or I can even think of a client who I helped him publish his book, and he lost his daughter, and now some things that are happening, it's just like, oh my gosh, like she's impacting thousands and thousands of lives, and he couldn't have seen that 20 plus years ago, but it's like, God always has that plan, and we can't see the steps ahead.
One of my life tenets is every moment that you've lived up until now, right now, even like 1 second ago, right now, has prepared you for this very moment. Mm-hmm. And so reason number 3, whatever number we're on, of why there can't be coincidence, because it's just preparation for the thing. You don't know it at the time. I just talked to a teacher over the weekend who, he was like one of those man's, like a real man's man, right? It like you're going through some psychological turmoil and he's like, rub dirt on it, like that kind of guy, right? Well, you can't be that way in 2025 when you're when you're teaching, because your students need you, and the job is 90% psychoanalyst and therapist. And I'm serious. And so I asked him, like, how do you handle that? Because you're that's not you. You're like Mr. Tough Guy. And this was really eye opening. He goes, well, do you remember when I was sick 5 or 6 years ago? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, I didn't tell anybody, but I was blacking out from anxiety because of a job change. And now my students come to me and say, I have this trauma from my childhood. I have this stuff I hear every day too. And because everyone's open, if you're a good professor, people open up to you. Your students open up to you. And so these people are opening up to him that 10 years ago he would have been rubbed some dirt on it.
Right.
And
I don't care.
he wouldn't have been that bad, but he would have said, yeah, I don't know why are you telling me this. Go talk to the school therapist or whatever.
Go talk to Jon Meyers.
Yeah. And now he can talk to them, and it means a lot to them too.
Well, to have empathy.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think we see that too a lot in our writing. Maybe you launch a book or a door closes that you think, or, maybe you're trying to get a traditional publisher and you don't get, and you get that rejection. Like there's so much in the writing process and the publishing process where, it just takes one little opportunity and and a lot of times it doesn't come when we want it or how we want it. And then you can look back, or you experience something in life and then that becomes part of a story that you're writing, whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction or children or something like that. And you're like, oh my gosh, I needed something like this for this story or this book or whatever. And it's like, maybe that's why I went through that. So I see it show up, coincidence, no coincidence, a ton in writing. What about you, especially like in what you write or the people that you've met and conferences, that sort of thing?
I got to shift position here. We've talked about it on this show is there are so many things where it might even happen when you were on as a guest where 3 weeks in a row, totally unrelated guests, one from England, one from Turkey, and one from America say the exact same sentence, right? And oh, what a coincidence. No, it's not a coincidence. That's a kind of synchronicity that happens because you spend time. This was my final point of proving that coincidence doesn't exist, is you spend time with like-minded people, and of course similar things are going to happen. You're going to have read a similar book, and you're increasing the odds of those happening by engaging with people who are like you, who do endeavors such as you do, and you're in that same world. There's not going to be you and I aren't going to have, I used to call them touchstones. In fact, when I met you, when I came up there to meet you, you said so much in that first conversation. It was like, oh, that's another touchstone. That's another touchstone. Then I prayed about it driving home. And then even like this week when you emailed me or something, I'm like, oh yeah. So but if it was about sports, that's in your world. That's not in my world. There wouldn't be like, right. The touchstones come from the writing half of you. I don't even know what shape of football is. It's just from hanging out with like-minded people or being around like-minded people. And what was your question?
I was just saying, like, in the writing world, there's so many things that we can get down on. And it's like, well, there's really no coincidences, it's like maybe you're trying to get traditionally published and you don't view that as a rejection. It's just like that door closed for a reason. Keep working it. Or maybe you're supposed to do it on your own, or maybe there's another publisher. Like you see this coincidence, no coincidence thing in writing everywhere. And if you learn to accept that there's no coincidences, and you and I as Christians, like we serve a sovereign God who is in control of everything, then that stress and anxiety go down, because then you're just like, okay, that door was meant to close, or that wasn't the opportunity for me. I can tell you I've missed like deadlines, self-imposed writing deadlines. Like, oh, I want to have the book out this time and by this date. And then I blew it somehow, like things got up, whatever. And then when the book came out, it was like the perfect timing, and it's like, oh my gosh, if that book would have came out a year ago, I wouldn't have known this person, or I wouldn't have been. And then so you have the ability, but you have to constantly be looking at your life and your writing, and what you're doing is through that lens. Or if not, you're always going to be worried and anxious, and this is never going to happen, or this, like there's kind of this tug of war. But I also think there is this, like, you also have to do the work too.
There are people who believe like we do, that don't believe in coincidence, that still have that anxiety. They see it, and they're like, yeah, there's no coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. They see it for other people, but then when it happens to them, or they see it in one area, but then when it happens to them in a different area, their I don't know, belief system, or not belief system, their belief in that topic or in that one area doesn't carry over to other areas.
Well, I think it's a muscle that you have to work. It's like that faith muscle. Is if you don't practice faith every day, then you kind of forget about what faith looks like. And if you're not taking that step every day and going, okay, this didn't happen, or this connection, or, you and I were even talking about a topic, and I messaged you and I was like, I haven't heard back from this person. What should I do? Because it was like, well, did that door close, or should I, and so there's this kind of tug, but I didn't let that get to me. It's like, oh, okay, maybe it's not meant to be.
And I said that. I said that as well. I'm the same.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the same way with that. Like, if they'll answer when the time's right for them to answer, or they won't. There are people who. So the person that we're talking about is this way. And I had a professor who was the same way when I was in grad school. You had to remind them, because they have 125 students. You had to remind them, and they would always answer same pattern as this person that we're talking about, from between 4 and 6 in the morning. Like, they always answer when they finally did answer. It took a reminder, and then when they would, it would here come 4:37 a.m. or whatever. I don't know what it was about. They're gonna do it first thing in the morning, or I don't ever sleep, so I'm still up at 4 in the morning. So maybe that's part of it. I learned something about you that I didn't know. So I went to go read your bio again before this, and I didn't. So you said you've written 3 fiction books, and I didn't know that.
Yeah, they haven't been published, but
I know, was because I know you as the children's books, and I know you as the inspirational books. When you said that about the timing and all that, I didn't even know that you wrote fiction. I know they're not published yet, but are they done? Are they done written?
Yes.
So they exist in a drawer somewhere.
Yeah, they exist in a drawer. They're with beta readers and editor right now, but all 3 of them are written, done. So now it's just fine tuning.
And then you're publishing them, or you're putting them in traditional? All right.
I have an agent who said, I'll look at them, but I'm kind of going back and forth, because it's like, if I give them to my agent, that just takes forever, where if I publish them myself, I can publish them all 3 at once and hopefully have them out by the end of the year. So
correct. And Jamin, I'll send you the article, or I'll put the article in the show notes, or I'll do both. If I remember, you have to remind me. He has an agent obviously for his TV shows, right?
Right.
And that agent set up meetings with agents who could get this published by one of the big 5, and he's like, no, I'm great at taking notes when it's the showrunner or the studio or the network, and this is my baby, and I don't want to take notes. I don't mean editing or that kind of notes, and but he doesn't want marketing notes on this, and he doesn't want he wants to be able to control the destiny of it. And just like we've had Kirsten Modulin on the show with her 50 novels,
which that was an amazing episode. I just want to plug that. Like if you haven't listened to that episode, it's probably my favorite that I love that episode. It was so inspiring.
I know, it's super inspiring. And it's lit a fire under everyone that's listened to it, including me and you and Emily. And we're now more. I was already super productive, and now I'm even more productive. But you can't do that if you're traditionally published, and because I think I'm not saying never get traditionally published. I'm not saying that at all. But your fans don't want to wait 3 years for your next book. And even if you're super prolific, traditionally published, they don't even want to wait a year. And so it's not just like with Jammin', I want to control my art. It's you want to serve your customer, you want to serve your readers, your fans, and they don't. It seems like you're robbing them of your next book if they have to wait for, like, if your 3 fiction books came out over the next 9 years or the next 6 years, you're robbing your fans of those books.
That's one thing that helped me to kind of decide of like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to take this traditional or try, is because on Goodreads, so, I track all my book on Goodreads, and they had a survey on Facebook months ago, and it was basically like, do you read standalone fiction books or do you read series fiction books? And the overwhelming was like, I read standalone because I don't want to wait a year or 2 years for the next book, or I don't read the series until the whole series is out. So that's why I was like, wait, as a self-publisher, I can put the series out at once, and then you kind of meet everybody's needs of like, oh, I'm not going to have to wait. I can read them all 3 consecutively. Now, I might go back and add, like a prequel or another book on the end, but at least those 3 are like out there, and the story kind of wraps up. But I know that there's other things that I could, add on or whatever.
Other things you can do in the same universe of whatever.
Yeah, but even in that, like when we talk about coincidences, like there's so many no coincidences within even writing that fiction book. I could go on for a whole episode of it. It's so cool. I was just thinking about this morning, and it's like, wow, it's so cool.
It's going to be hard for the next 6 weeks to not talk about it. So you're going to have to figure out what line of how much you can talk about and what you can't talk about. But it's going to be hard not to. Are you prepared for that?
Not to talk about it? Yes.
No. Are you prepared to talk around the edges of it?
Oh, sure.
Because I'll be asking you questions. So while we're on the topic, and then we'll do the call to action. So I started a novel 3 years ago, and I put that away. It's extremely surreal. It's very weird. But this year I needed a new book before May, and guess what's coming up? May's coming up. People might even be watching this in May. I don't know. There's a certain book festival that I want to go to in November, and your book can be published all the way up until I think October 29th, but it has to exist with its ISBN number and a cover before May something.
Oh, wow.
Or you don't get to go because they want new, fresh books. And so Emily and I were there last year with this book. Talked to 306 people. We sold 4 million trillion bazillion books. we literally talked for 2 days to either one, like she was talking to one person, I was talking to another person, or we forgot to sign some of the books because we were so busy.
That's fun though. I mean, like, how amazing is that?
Yeah, and we were both very talkative, and so we didn't lose any sales but we were like taking money and running credit cards and stuff. And it was just, oh, did you sign that one? No, neither did I. Oops. And anyway, so in January, I took a unsold sitcom pilot that would lend itself well to a good standalone book, a novel. It's just fun. It's not like my other one's kind of heady and surreal. And I don't take 3 years on anything. So the timing for it isn't right. And this one has a story. The story's different now that it's a novel because we've talked about that on another episode. A screenplay and a book are two different vehicles, two different platforms.
Yeah.
Why if you haven't watched, I'm afraid to tell you this. If you haven't watched Rene Gutteridge's episode that she on Point of View,
Oh no! I saw some of the stories.
You need to watch it, but it's gonna make you rework some things in the 3 books that are done already.
I'm gonna say I'm not reworking it. No.
You need to watch it because Emily and I saw her speak at a session at a conference called "Why Hollywood is Ruining Your Fiction" or "Why Hollywood is Ruining Your Novel," and they're 2 different distinct platforms. And even just calling, "Oh, I have this scene in my book," no, you don't. You have a passage in your book. You have a scene in a movie. Now, a passage can be a scene, like a crime scene, but not all passages are scenes. But in a movie, they all are, and it goes beyond the point of view of the narrator, the point of view of by POV. She's talking about using it as a tool to guide the reader in an engaging way through the chapter, and it totally changed it. Every person that's watched it or every person that's been in that session, it's changed. So you need to watch that one before you release your books. And
Jon Meyers.
everything happens for a reason. There's no coincidence.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were
It
going to
came
say
up
that.
in this episode for a reason. And so there you go. And so I have this novel and it's done. And now we're almost done with April, right? And so I'm 2 months behind on it because I'm slow. I'm a slow typer. But now I'm working on finding the right artist for the cover. But there was never any question of I'm publishing it. And I don't even call it self-publishing. I think you and I talked about this before, but I have an indie publishing company. I own ISBN numbers in bulk, man. I'm a publishing
Same
company.
here. I'm a publisher.
Yeah, I'm the publisher, and we've talked about that. We're going to publish an anthology in next year, and at a different conference that I'm going to, I'm teaching a class in memoir, and people don't a masterclass, and some of those people in that class might be a book that I'm going to publish, and I'm not going to commit to that or anything,
Right.
but that's how things happen.
Yeah, you never know. It just takes like meeting that one person, or
I'm not going to publish 10 people. If there's 25 people in the class, I'm not going to publish 10 of them, but I might publish 1 or 2 of them. And just like you publish Sarah and whatever other projects are on your plate. All right, so what's the call to action? And I think I will be able to do my cover reveal and the title while you're still around.
Okay, that'll be exciting.
I mean, I need to, right? Because you're around for a while, so
yeah, I'm around for a while. Hopefully,
hopefully, as long as I can narrow down the right cover person, I should be able to do that, and I have to be able to get into that festival.
Yeah.
So, all right, what's the call to action?
Well, the call to action is I think it's important sometimes to like step away from busy life, everything. You know, we kind of forget of the coincidences or the no coincidence. Sorry, I keep wanting to say coincidences, but like things that we think are coincidences. Like I love mapping them out. So like I told you I always love to start in college of like not getting into college, getting into college of running, and then taking that a step back. But then going from like, okay, well, what was the next thing that happened? Maybe it's you met somebody, and it's just cool to sit down and like write your journey out, because then you can see, at least for me, I tell people is once you have that written out, and it could just be bullet points or a little line or whatever, is you get to see on bad days when you feel like, nothing works out for me. We can get this like, catastrophe. I can't say that word. You could catastrophize everything where you're like, nothing's working out for me. Like I'm terrible. And then if you go back, you can go like, oh, actually a lot of things have worked out for me. Or this door closed and this one opened, or I met this person at this time, which led me to here. And so I love doing that some days when, you're like down in the dumps. I'm like, wait, oh, nope, that's a lie. That's a lie. God is working in your life. And then just keep that and add to it. I love to go back and add, like, if you think of something, it's like, oh, I forgot this happened. Jot it down. Because then sometimes you might use it in a book in the future, which you can use it in any type of book that you're writing or working on. So.
And even these things that we talk about work for non-believers.
Oh,
I will do that
Absolutely.
exact same thing, very similar to that. I shouldn't say exact same, very similar to that thing with my students. There's no espousing a scripture out loud,
Yeah.
but the principle is still there.
Yes.
And the principle is still true and it still works.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can go back and look at that thing a year later or 10 years later. And I've had students do that they'll be like, hey, remember that thing that we did? I'm like, yeah, I do.
Yeah, I love it. I just think it's a great exercise. It's a good exercise too. I don't believe in writer's block. I feel like we've talked about that, or I've listened to it on one of your guys' episodes. But I tell people, if you have writer's block, that's an activity that you can do. Like pick a point in your life and start writing some of those out. And
Yep.
yeah.
There's no such thing as writer's block.
No, I don't believe in it. But a lot of people use that, I think, as an excuse to not be writing.
I agree.
A whole other episode.
Yep. Jammin agrees too. Who's your Jammin? So like Brandon Sanderson is Emily's hero, and she has other ones too, but who's yours?
Oh, like author type hero?
Yeah.
Well, especially since I'm working on fiction, is I love Charles Martin.
And I was gonna say not just the work, but like the career as well.
I love Charles Martin. Like, just, yeah.
Okay.
I think, yeah, I'm
cool.
a fan. There's probably somebody else, but I'll tell you somebody else whose career, and I didn't know that I loved from their career side until I read his book, was James Patterson by James Patterson. And he has a fascinating, like, story and career to where, again, we forget these people, like, didn't just start writing New York Times best-selling and putting out all these books and everything. And I think that's always a good reminder of, like, everybody starts from somewhere. And, he was working at, like, I don't want to say a sane asylum, but it was something like that, like a mental health ward or something. And, like, then he worked in ad. I don't know. It's just like those things really inspire me and are a great reminder of we all have different beginnings, but it's the consistency of, like, sitting down and writing it and treating it like a job and not just a hobby, and doing something every day. And I think the more that you do that, the more you see no coincidences, or those people, those doors open up, or you meet somebody. But you have to be, like, out there doing and living your craft also.
I agree.
What about you? Who's yours?
I just told you.
I know. Was it? Okay. I can't remember the name. Michael Jamin? Is that what you
Michael
said?
Jamin. And then, so I always say I had the same birthday as Kurt Vonnegut, and that Kurt Vonnegut made me want to be a writer, and Richard Brodigan convinced me that I could be a writer. So growing up, we have a loose end we have to tie up, and but growing up, I could read when I was 2 or 3. I could read teenage comic books like Betty and Veronica and all those, and I would sit at my grandma's lap, and that was before you sounded things out, right? And she wouldn't read them to me. She made me learn the words and read them.
Wow, what
and
a
then,
gift she gave you.
Yeah, and so then in kindergarten and first grade, I'd get in trouble because I didn't want to read those baby books. And there's like the section for 3rd through 5th grade I'd go get those books, and I would get in trouble. And then I read in third grade. I read a book on the theory of relativity. I didn't understand all of it, but I read it. And I remember when I returned it, someone like yelled at me because I wasn't supposed to have that book.
I can just see little Jon Meyers like in kindergarten, like, these are baby books. You're not reading these baby books.
Yeah, I was. And so I read all of Vonnegut by high school, and then I read all of Richard Brautigan in high school and in college until he died. So we have a loose end. How do they get the call to action to us, Stephanie L. Jones?
Do I know? You can email, you can comment. I don't know. This is new. I forget.
All right. So here's how viewers, listeners, here's how you can get it to them. They can respond to the show notes. They can put it on the Facebook when I post the episodes on Tuesday. I've been putting the call to action underneath there, so they can respond to that there. They can put in the YouTube comments. Mm-hmm. And that's enough.
That's the bell. What does the bell mean? It means subscribe to our channel. It also means if you could please give us a star rating, write a review, because the more you do that, the more people that see this podcast. And I would like to add, share it with somebody. Share it with a writer friend, or share it with somebody who, might be struggling in writing. Share it with a author or somebody that wants to be an author or writer. Give them a little encouragement.
And I would like to add that I've been really big on this a lot lately when I respond to people in groups online and stuff. Your investment in your career is something you are 100% in control of. Everyone's time is valuable, so we appreciate when people spend an hour and a half watching this. But it's not over. You invest an hour and a half in it. Participate in the community by responding and liking and commenting, because that's an investment in your I hate the word networking, and we've talked about that before.
I know, I listened to that. Yeah.
I've written a whole article about why get rid of that word. And investing in your community is investing in your career and in your in your journey as a writer. When you review someone's book on Amazon, that helps them, but it's also you investing in the community. It's like
it's a great way to put it.
Yeah, and there was a class in grad school, literary citizenship, and that it's practicing literary citizenship. If you're going to be a writer, you need to be in the writing community and not just in your basement. Mm-hmm. There you go.
Yeah, I think that's
invest.
Good. I love it.
What the B?
Well, no, you know what we forgot?
What?
Hey, Jon Meyers.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Hey, Jon Meyers.
Yes?
You know how Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss came about?
Do I ever?
Do you know?
He was served at Waffle House. Waffle House will never be a sponsor of this show because I don't like Waffle House. He was served actual green ham I'll just say at an unnamed restaurant.
That is wrong. Or that might be part of the story, but it's not the answer I was looking for. So
I sold it so convincingly, though.
I know, yeah, so convincing that I'm like, maybe that is part of the story, but it's not the answer that I have found. So he was with Random House Publishing. The founder of Random House made him a bet for $50 on the line that, I know, big money, that he would not be able to write an entertaining children's book with only using 50 different words. So he took that bet, and out came Green Eggs and Ham. Do you want to know how many copies it sold over?
Yes, I do. What if I said no? No, I don't care. No. Yes, of course I do.
I know. Over 200 million copies of that book. Became one of the best-selling children's book of all time. because he like took on that challenge. And I was reading an article by James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, which is a great book that I always recommend. And he talked about that, like it put a constraint on the author, and constraints, sometimes we think of bad things, but I loved it. He said, like, a lot of times we think of constraints in something that you don't have. So you don't have enough money, you don't have enough time, whatever, fill in the blank. Now, how I like to take this like negative of the way of looking of something that we don't have and flipping it to like gratitude. Because I could not talk about this episode without talking about gratitude.
Thank goodness. Finally we get some gratitude talk out of you. You've been on like so many times.
But think about it. Like, I think Dr. Seuss took that and was like, hey, at least I have 50 words. Instead of looking at I only have 50 words, like, hey, what can I do with 50 words? And that drove creativity. And then at the end of the day, he ended up winning that bet and writing, one of the best books of all time. So as a writer, we shouldn't think about some of the constraints that we have of, I only have 15 minutes to write, so I'm not going to write. No, be grateful you have 15 minutes to write. That's amazing. Use that 15 minutes.
So, exactly. I love that.
Yeah, that was my Hey Jon Meyers today.
I learned something today.
And I want to send you that link because we need to share it. The article by James Clear, an amazing author, is a really good article on constraints and creativity and how we can use them to benefit us as opposed to not.
Love it.
Yeah.
Cool.
The next segment is a new segment. It's called What to Be. And Jon Meyers does not know what this is. I
have no idea what this is.
Right before we jumped on. And I thought, like, you and I getting to know each other, audience getting to know each other. But we look in the back of us is we have a bunch of books.
Yes.
And so I want to know, Jon Meyers, what book are you reading right now?
Well, it's not going to be.
Or one that you just finished.
Well, it's not going to be on the shelf.
That's fine. No, you can just talk about it. Just talk about it. Like, this is a book that I just finished or I'm reading.
But I want to hold it up, and it's over there.
Get up and go get it.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Sing them a song or something.
You could share with us in the comments of this episode of, we want to know what you're reading or what did you just finish reading? And maybe you could comment it. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Would you recommend it? Because as an author, we should be reading books. I just had a little conversation.
With Maze?
Yeah.
So, as you know, my novel is the first draft's finished anyway. And I've been reading a whole stack, which is also over there. I'm not going to go get the whole stack. I should have got it while I was up. Of first sentences, because I'm not happy with the first sentence yet. Oh. And
I love that.
And so it's weird because I have Emily has said this before about this book. You can tell we wrote every other chapter and we signed the chapter. Right. You can tell by the first sentence which chapter is mine, and she said that before. And so I don't have any trouble with magazine article. I don't have any trouble with nonfiction, and I don't have any trouble with the first sentence of many of the of all the chapters. I don't know why I'm being so picky about the first sentence of the novel. And maybe you'll get to reveal your first sentence of your first novel before you leave from your temporary assignment. My favorite book, and this is not a family-friendly book. So, I mean, it's not. There's just some bad words in it. And it's not terrible. It's not demonic or anything. But it's Trout Fishing in America by Richard Brautigan. And flunks the first sentence rule. That's my favorite book. And because first of all, I have about 6 copies of Trout Fishing in America that are pink. They look like this, where there's a picture right here. This is another Richard Brodigan book, and then all this is pink around it, right? And this was a whole series of them. I have like 6 of those because every time I find one at the thrift store or whatever, because my favorite book, I buy it. I cannot find a single one. And so, and it matters because the chapters in this size book are divided up differently than in this size book. The first sentence isn't different, obviously, but it matters to me. And so I ordered one on eBay on April 4th. You didn't know you were going to get this whole big long story, did you? And on April 4th, and we're filming this on Dingus Day, which is April 20 what? First. It just got here today, and so when we're done, I got to go pick it up. And it's taken that long to get here. And
it doesn't take that long.
I know. No, well, I ordered it because it was the one that was supposed to get. There's 10 copies of it on there, and it was the one that was supposed to be here quickest. And now we're
not.
No, now we're 2.5 weeks later. So the first sentence of Trout Fishing in America is, because the first chapter is the cover of Trout Fishing in America, and it talks about the cover. Well, this isn't even the cover that it talks about. It talks about the cover of the pink one that I'm talking about. So like this shape of a book doesn't even make any sense. But so that's the cover of the pink one. It's actually inside this book. But so yeah, that didn't help me for my favorite book, and it didn't even help me for my first sentence. So since I had it out, I went ahead and read the whole thing, and then
so you just finished that one?
Yeah. That's the one I just finished, and then I already know what one I'll talk about next week. And how about you?
So I just finished. I listened to it because a lot of times I'll do audiobooks. This book, Alone in Plain Sight by Ben Higgins.
Okay.
Now, the funny thing about this book, and it's on like Searching for Connection. I did not know. I picked up this book because Ben Higgins is a co-founder of a coffee shop called Generous Coffee. And hello, I'm the giving gal. I've used Generous Coffee at events. And so I was like, oh, Ben Higgins has a book. He has Generous Coffee. He's a philanthropist. He was on The Bachelor. He was a bachelor. Like, I've never watched that show. So I did not know that. And so I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, and I've always wondered on social media, he has like 1.5 million followers. I'm like, how did Ben Higgins, like owner of a coffee, have all these followers? Oh, well, he is a bachelor. And though, I really enjoyed this book. He was very vulnerable, I could connect a lot with how he just kind of always felt like an outsider. I can relate to that sometime, but also he is a man of faith, and I did not know that. I really just wanted to hear a little bit about his Generous Coffee story, and so I always challenge people to like pick up a book that maybe you wouldn't normally read, and I was surprised and delighted.
So before we started recording, you said you have a friend who's a reality TV producer. Was she aware of this?
She used to be.
Or was she aware that he was on The Bachelor?
I haven't asked her, but I bet she was. I'm going to text her. That's a good idea. I'm going to text her. Were you aware that Ben Higgins was on The Bachelor? Because I did not know this.
I didn't know that. That's for sure.
Yeah. So that's the book that I just finished.
So I'm in the middle of like 5 projects, and plus learning how to edit things, and now I got to read a book every week. Is that what you're telling me?
No, you don't have to read a book but it could be just like, what's on your stack? What's one that you've read this year? What's one that you're reading? Like, I just love to have conversations about books as an author, like it keeps us learning, and it discovers, like Ben, I learned something totally new about him.
I normally, when I read, it's for a purpose. Even when I read fiction, it's for a purpose.
I tried to stop that because I feel like it was like so, like just so much weight of it. Like everything I had to do was for a purpose. It's like, just read for pleasure sometimes.
Yeah, I get that. Even even like on a plane I won't. On a plane I'll read trash. And no offense if I've mentioned a book that I read on a plane in a previous episode. But even so, when the pool opens, I go to the pool every morning until 2, and until Labor Day, until I go to RyderCon on Labor Day, because then the pool closes. But I take work with me because I always have to be producing something. And so, but there are times when I'll take I'll take a novel, but even then I'm half my brain is working. It's like, oh, I see how they did this, or oh yeah, that thing Rene taught me. I see how it comes into play. I can't turn that part off.
Yeah.
But
I don't think
as
you have to.
a
Should we all?
screenwriter, though, I can watch a movie without,
Interesting.
yeah, and because it's second nature, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I like to suspend disbelief for the movie, and I can just enjoy the movie. I
Mm-hmm.
don't look at it. I mean, afterwards I'll be like, wow, I wish I could have thought of that idea or written that,
Yeah.
and which I could have. It's not envy or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And but I can enjoy the 2-hour experience of sitting and watching it. But when I
Yeah.
read a book, it's for a purpose.
That's cool.
All right.
Final act. You have a
Oh,
game for me.
I have a
Just so
game for you.
nervous.
I should make the stakes like really. Not, when you say you're nervous, it makes me want to up the stakes.
I don't
So
like unknown, and then I'm always feel like like sometimes there's like facts you probably should know, and then you just don't, or you're nervous, and then you're like, oh my gosh, she's an idiot. That's how I feel.
well, you're not an idiot, first of all,
Thank you for that, Jon Meyers.
and secondly, what's the worst that can happen?
Exactly, that's a good question. I ask all my coaching clients that
It's
question. Thank
not
you.
like, well, see now, look, do you know that about this show?
What?
So Lucy V. Hay, on the episode that she was on, that's what she tells her clients.
Mm-hmm.
And when she revealed that on the episode, Emily said, that's what my therapist taught me. What's the worst that can happen? And it almost never happens.
No.
And then yesterday at Easter, Pastor, I almost said his name,
Mm-hmm.
said that he does that. I've in, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years. I don't know how long I've gone there. He said that he practices that exercise. What's the worst that can happen? And he's never had something of like, oh, I can live with that. Like,
Right.
oh, even even before he was a Christian, yeah, he's like, if I lose the job, I lose the job. I can live with that, and and
Mm-hmm.
so that's the thing. So I need to up the stakes to make you even more nervous. I need but today you'll be playing for this leftover Easter bunny chocolate.
Ooh, I love
Oh,
Easter candy.
and you'll learn soon that if even when you win, you don't get the prize because
Right.
like one of
I
my
figured. Who wants to ship it? Shipping's so expensive. It's
and
killing us indie authors.
unless I come up there again, and then I can bring you some of them. I have given Emily some of her prizes. Today, you will be playing. So I learned something new. I knew your husband was a cop.
Yes.
And that's not offensive when I say cop instead of police officer, right?
Okay, so when I was in the police academy, because I also was a police officer, is they told us it was offensive to call people a cop. We were not allowed. We got in trouble in the police academy if we used the word cop. I'm going to say police officer. Now, I don't care. My husband doesn't care, but we
Okay,
were taught.
so I will try because I don't want to use offensive language, but I will try not to say that. And well, that's what I was going to say. I didn't know you were a police officer until you said earlier in this episode. And so when I designed this game, I didn't know that. I just thought that he was. Somewhere in there. You had said something that you were in the academy, and then I know that a year ago, or according to your website, it says a year ago you lost your job. They canceled your
Mhm.
job, or was that as a police officer?
No, I was
Oh,
working for a big company.
so why'd you stop being a police officer?
I got offered a really good deal in
Oh,
corporate America, and it was like one of those too good to turn down. And it's hard being a married police officers. So everybody works shift work, you work weekends, you don't see each other much, and I always said is my husband will retire or die being a police officer. And I was like, yeah, I could go do something else. I was working really cold winters that I didn't care for and had an opportunity and took it and led me on a crazy ride. But I think it was meant
And you
to
don't
be.
have kids.
We don't have kids.
And you're not allowed to have any. So
nope.
All right. So today you will be playing Is This Illegal? So I have the state. I have a law.
Okay.
And you're going to say if it's a real law or if it's not a real law.
Okay. I know there's some really obscure laws on the book. So, yeah, some of them might be true.
All right. I think I'm going to have them in this order. I might change the order. All right. And you'll be playing for the old Easter Bunny candy. All right. In Washington, D.C., if a car wash has a sale, they must advertise the end date.
I would say that's true.
You think that's a real law?
I think it's a real law.
Ding, 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 ding. Guess when it became a law? I mean, that's not part of the... You got that right. You're in the right pile.
I have no idea on the timing.
This year. So they've gone their whole life. They've gone 200 years of we're having a sale, and they never had to say when the sale ended.
Is that what our priorities are? Okay.
California.
Okay.
Is this a law or not? If your frog dies during a frog jumping contest, it is illegal to eat it.
I will say that's not a law.
It is a law. It is illegal to eat it, and you must destroy it immediately. Not only that, so someone must have ate theirs where they had to make that law. Speaking of eating things,
okay,
it's a shame Emily's not here for this one. In Idaho, is cannibalism legal or illegal?
Oh, it's probably legal.
Why do people talk about cannibalism on this show? Emily would bring it up time and time again, and now here I am bringing it up. What kind of show is this? Cannibalism is usually legal under certain circumstances in Idaho. Those circumstances are, it has to be in an extreme life-threatening condition as the only apparent means of survival.
Okay.
So, but
plane crash in the mountains. There you go.
Correct. And if it's not for survival, guess what the penalty is?
Do they have the death penalty in Idaho?
Someone eats you. That's the penalty. No.
I don't know.
Is that your guess?
Like the death penalty?
Nope. You're not to exceed 14 years in jail, in prison.
Okay.
There you go. So you got that one right? You said it was legal.
I said it was legal.
It is legal. It is legal. In Illinois, you can't have over $600 of salamanders. True or false?
I would say true. Unless you change the dollar amount.
Oh, you think that's the snag?
Yeah, I think it's true, but then I could see you being a little sneaky and being like, "Oh, it's 500."
The truth is, I don't know if you got this one right or not. Here, I'll let you decide. How fair is that? The truth is, you can have as many aquatic species, you can have as many salamanders as you want, as long as you didn't violate the Fish and Aquatic Life Code when you captured them. However, you cannot have a single fish, salamander, whatever aquatic life worth over $600. So you can't have a $601 salamander. But you can have you can have $601. Something's changed. You look so different. Oh, wait, you don't look different. Oh, no, you sold all your books. All right, that's a good thing. You sold all the books.
I
What
sold all
happened?
the books. I had to run
You,
across the room and plug my computer in.
you ran downstairs to look up the answer, didn't you? All right, so you heard my answer. So does that count as you won that Illinois or not?
I think I get a half a point because I said I think it's true, but you changed the amount to try to trick me when you didn't change the amount. It was $600. This is why I'm bad at test taking, because I'm always like, I think they're trying to get me here, and so
Is that your police officer background? You're suspicious of everybody?
Suspicious, yes.
I don't cheat. All right, final question. In Indiana, you better know this one.
I know, there's a police officer here.
In Indiana, specifically in Indianapolis.
Oh, okay.
You cannot dig a hole even on your own property before 7 a.m.
True.
It is true. When did that law go into effect?
Last year.
Yeah. It got passed last year, and then it went into effect January 1st. How do you know that? Are you and your husband going around the neighborhood?
No, it just seems like something petty somebody would do. Like, my neighbor's digging holes and it's loud, and so please stop doing that. You can't do it until after 7 o'clock.
And when you apply for the permit to dig, and in the whole state, so then now this part will apply to you. This was in the same bill that passed. You cannot begin digging until 2 days after you get the permit, so 48 hours, and then you must begin digging within 2 weeks. They don't care when you end, and but you have to start after 2 days, but before 2 weeks.
And you have to call 411.
Yeah, after you call 411, and then in Indianapolis, it has to be after 7 a.m. Even if you're just planting a flower. All right, so you got 3 right, 1 wrong, and that half one where you were extra suspicious. So I guess I get to bite the head off of this and then mail you the rest of it.
You can, my gift for the day, Jon Meyers, you can have the whole thing.
Oh, you are. I will exhibit gratitude for that. All right. Do you know what to say now?
Well, I did, but the paper is on the other side of my office. So it's like, isn't it? We can't do it without you or something.
We couldn't have done it without you.
Done it without you.